The YLOA election in 2023 could correctly be called the red flag election because there were so many of them. The problems within the YLOA organization had become more and more apparent, so much so that two homeowners who were leading very happy and fulfilling personal lives, Cheryl Bluhm, a happily married mother of 3 school-age children. Cheryl was gainfully employed and did professional work from her home office, and Beate, a retiree with 33 years employed by the IRS as a taxpayer advocate. Beate raised 2 wonderful children and is a happily married grandmother. Both Cheryl and Beate decided to run for the open board positions, and if elected, they could begin the work of fixing things. Happily, they were elected and began looking into the condition of financial records and everything else that appeared awry. Sadly, things were worse than they expected, and on top of that, they were met with opposition from other board members apparently concerned about their possible complicity in the mismanagement. Also, there were employees who were resistant to change and had become accustomed to the previous status quo management. They liked the generosity of the general manager and board members like Ken Sartains. There had developed a very cozy, "you scratch my back, I'll scratch your back" culture, and some employees didn't want to see it end. So several employees up and quit, including the very questionable GM. The general manager quit on short notice. Most likely he was concerned because of the unacceptable condition he had things. What happens when the GM quits? The board president is made interim GM. Cheryl Bluhm was suddenly interim GM. That meant sacrificing her paying job and work full-time running YLOA, and doing so for no pay. Cheryl is a woman of integrity, so she committed herself to doing what is best for the community. She consulted with the HOA regularly and brought in accounting professionals to work with Beate. She had to think in terms of both short and long-term solutions. She researched the benefits of a professional management company. She brought the idea to the board. It was reviewed and discussed. Board members agreed to divide the work of researching and contacting a variety of companies. Eventually, a company was selected and voted for. It wasn't long before muckraker Paul Hall began the drumbeat against Cheryl as well as the management company. He is a homeowner in the community, a fellow who works as a security guard at one of the local casinos and is the owner and administrator of a popular yet controversial local Facebook page. Paul uses his Facebook page to influence community members in the direction of his opinions. Paul is thought to be very manipulative, and certainly there is evidence of that on his Facebook group page. Paul was very effective at fueling the flames of disagreement about switching from our previous mismanagement to professional management. One thing led to another, and Paul Hall, along with the very board members who were presiding over the board when all those red flags were taking place, joined forces and hatched a coup to put a stop to Cheryl and Beate and the cleanup of the very mismanaged HOA. First, Ken Sartains and his board sidekick Rose filed a lawsuit against the HOA and fellow board members. It was frivolous and never amounted to anything beyond attorney expenses paid by the homeowners. It was effective, though, at bad publicity for Cheryl and Beate, which was Ken and Rose's objective. Then, they, along with Paul Hall and his Facebook group, beat the drums for a recall election, again at the expense of homeowners, and it worked. So here we are, and the recall election is underway. Just a week away, and we will find out if Beate and Cheryl will be sent back in the finish, the work of cleaning up all the past irregularities, or will the Ken Sartains overthrow of Cheryl and Beate succeed? It is hopeful that Cheryl and Beate will prevail, but that will only happen if the silent majority awakens and sends in their ballots with their show of support and gratitude to Cheryl and Beate. 2 very caring and courageous YLP women.